Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So, on Friday night, I did get another batch of figures in from FedEx. This time, coming from Mattel Creations. We do have the 7th wave of the Mattel Retros. And this one is actually pretty special because from my favorite wrestling movie of all time, No Holds Barred, we do get a couple of characters, namely Zeus, who does get his first retro figure. And we also get yet another Hulk Hogan figure from the movie Rip Thomas. Now, Rip Thomas and Zeus, previously, the only time I could ever recall those two characters being released. Actually, I scratched that. I think both characters might have actually got a Jakks Classic Superstar. I could be wrong, but I think they may have actually got. No, there's definitely a Zeus Jakks Classic Superstar because I think I have that figure. Was there a Rip Thomas? I want to say yes, but I'm not. I'm not guaranteed. But from Ram Treasures with their custom LJN figures. I mean, I think that's really the only other time I've ever seen these characters being made. Yeah, there's obviously customizers, who make, your No Holds Barred Rip Thomas with, blue T-shirt and whatnot. But getting these guys as actual Hasbro style figures is pretty incredible. So a couple months ago, from Grapplers and Gimmicks, they released the Kurt Fuller action figure, and that was pretty awesome because from Grapplers and Gimmicks you got Kurt Fuller. Now with Mattel Retros, you're getting both Zeus and Rip Thomas. You're getting this awesome no holds barred movie theme going with your action figures. So that's pretty killer. And the only downside with this particular release is the inclusion of Sherri Martel. Now, in general, I would think that the inclusion of either Queen Sherri or Sensational Sherri would be absolutely fantastic. I would love that. But again, same issue. Grapplers and Gimmicks has released not one, but two Sherri Martel figures. So having two figures already from Grapplers and Gimmicks, paying $40 on each of those figures, and then having to get another Sherri Martel out of Mattel Retros, to me right now, it's overkill. So it's why I'm not enjoying all of these companies mass producing the same characters over and over again. It's kind of annoying, if we're being honest. But this is the newest release, Wave 7 from Mattel Creations. And again, overall, you can look at it as Wave 7. You can look at it as Series 17, all in all, of all of the different Mattel Retro figures that have come out for this respective line of action figures. So that's pretty awesome. And it is insane, okay? It is incredible that 11 series of Hasbro figures, okay, 94 original figures, 3 more mailaways, and no Elizabeth. Already 16 previous series of Mattel Retros. All of these zombie sailors, all of these grappler and gimmick figures, all of these, Premier Wrestling, all these other companies that are making these figures. You're telling me nobody has ever made a Hasbro style Elizabeth figure until now? I think that's absolutely ridiculous. But we finally have Elizabeth to add to the collection, and that is absolutely remarkable. So the first one I want to start off with is Rip Thomas. And the first thing that kind of stands out to me, the championship belt. Love it, love it, love it. Because obviously, just like Hulk Hogan in real life, of course, your character in the movie, Rip Thomas, is going to be your heavyweight champion in the movie, right? And the white championship belt just meshes beautifully with the overall blue outline of the character. Now, the one thing that I don't think anyone really has appreciation for is the black and white background of the cards. At some point, I really wish that Mattel Retros would have actually did some kind of upgrades with the card backs and actually gave you some kind of digicolor with the background, but you know, it is what it is. After 17 series, you know, you're kind of, it is what it is. I don't think they're ever going to make any changes to that. But the easy release card backs, and it looks like they may have actually taped this one down. Where is the tape at? I'm trying to see where they have it taped down. Because normally they just slide right up. Alright. Just gotta pull it from the edges. Gotta read extra close because my eyesight is horrible. Hulk Hogan starred as Rip Thomas in the 1989 film No Holds Barred. Well, shoot, we already know this. But another downside that I don't like about that particular figure, and we already know based on the design what kind of figure it is. It's a kicker, right? And Nikolai Volkov, all of those Hogans, the Roddy Piper, the figures that have that kind of kick, right? The legs, they're very sensitive. They just kick right. They kick straight up. They don't stand straight, and I hate that. But little kicking figures, they're horrendous. Ever since I kind of ran out of room on that back display case in the storage room, I think after I don't know, series 12 or so, with the next couple of waves, and then a couple of waves from Ringside Collectibles. I have a couple of those tag team sets displayed in the storage room on the white shelves, but I do still get duplicates, but I don't take them out of the secondary box sets. I keep them boxed up because there's no major reason to actually take them out of the box set and put them in the protective packages because there's really nowhere to display them, right? So I just keep them where they are. And so one of the things I'm noticing on this particular figure though, and I might keep this championship belt on because I'm noticing with the championship belt on, this leg is actually staying stationary. Like, I'm not seeing any major issue with the leg kicking up like so, right? You know, with the belt on, it's keeping it in place. But, you know, the action feature. And now I think I kicked it up, it's, now it's sticking. But good, strong arms. Face is good. I like the way that the Rip'em really bleeds, but I want to take this belt off. This belt feels pretty incredible. Why is it that the championship belt, I can't be the only guy. I feel like a lot of us, the championship belt, no matter if we're looking at like Hasbro style belts or LJN style belts, whatever, I feel like we all go gaga over the championship belts more than the figures. But that is really nice detail. Now, obviously, the rubber championship belt that we got from like Big Rubber Guys, you know, for their LGN style figures, that was like one of the most killer belts I'd ever seen. But for a Hasbro-esque belt style figure, this is one of the most impressive belts I've seen. I mean, it is a rubbery figure or a rubbery belt, so this is awesome. Now, there is a ring that actually comes with these figures, and you could actually wrap this belt around the ring post, right? Kind of the same way that you do with like the Hasbro ring. It came with like the Winged Eagle black belt, and you would wrap the championship belt around the ring. So, I don't know if I want to wrap it around the ring like so, if I want to keep it around Hogan's waist. More than likely, I'm probably going to keep it with Hogan. But for now, yeah, you see, this is why I hate these figures. In fact, I talked about possibly, the Rick Rude Hasbro, where, he's like so, as being one of the worst action figures ever made. But this right here, with the way, with this kick, because when you display it, you can't really keep it like so, because they don't stay like so. The second you stand them up, they, without fail, every time, right? So, it's very annoying. It's, I hate that. Oh my god, it's so good. Like, you gotta sit there and you gotta like bend the leg all the way back to the rear as far as possible in hopes that it stays back, because you can't just keep it in the middle for the most part, because eventually the most minute, flex or, movement, it starts to kick out. But yeah, I couldn't imagine being a kid right now in this day and age and having these figures to play with. That would that would irritate the living snot on me. And I tell you, Ron Simmons from Gloob was one of the worst action figures I had to play with as a kid. That bothered me to no end. And the Bear Hug Hogan Hasbro, when my brothers were like playing with the Hulkaplex Hogan Series 1, and I wanted to play with Hogan, and I couldn't use that one. I had to use the Bear Hug Hogan. It was annoying, but I think I would have more of a frustration playing with figures like this than those figures. But forget the action feature. As far as aesthetics and overall look, this is an A+ figure. The muscles of the figure, the thickness of the thighs, the boots are amazing. The championship belt accessory, this is absolute perfection. This could go down as one. This and his red shirt variant that came out, I think, in the last series or maybe 2 series ago. It may have come out 2 series ago. I think it came out with the Big John Stud. So, because I think Hogan came out. This version of Hogan came out in each of the last 3 series. So, oh man, I don't remember. Either way, irrelevant. I think Hogan's being mass produced right now too much, but still an awesome piece. And probably the one figure that excited me about as much as anything was Zeus. Getting Zeus. So there are 2 figures we're going to look at today that a lot of people have been customizing, and Zeus is one of the 2 figures that a lot of people, they do customize this figure. It says Zeus was angry, losing in no holds barred, so he challenged Hulk Hogan in WWE. Well, he didn't challenge him in WWE, he challenged him in WWF. I sometimes call it WWE when I'm like making like listings or something, but to me, I simply refer to it as WWF. I can't get around to the WWE thing. All right, first opinion. It's not a bad figure, but when I look at figures like this, I think about John Cena. I think about Ultimate Warrior. I think British Bulldog, guys like that. And why do I think about those characters, Lex Luger, etc.? Because I don't like that. I'm not a fan of that, where it's kind of has like the waist right here, right, and it's got like the ribs and whatnot, the stomach, and then you got the upper torso, where the chest and the stomach and everything is kind of separated, where it looks like it's 2 different pieces. I hate that. I want it to be one single body part, right? But it's like a snowman. It's like two stomachs, or a stomach and a chest, or two different body parts. I'm like, I don't like that at all. So it's just so funky. This is why the Mattel Retros, I don't think, could ever make that solid comparison to Hasbro. But if they gave this Zeus the right body pose, This had the potential to be a flawless figure. Good head pose, or good head sculpt. I like the, of course, sticking with the design in the head and the pants. I mean, you know how to make Zeus's pants, okay? The color scheme, that's absolute perfection. So I mean, kind of looking at all the figures, this is probably the second best figure, maybe first. Now I'm gonna say this is probably the second best figure we're gonna look at today. So it's good. It's a good figure. It's just not perfect, but again, it has more to do with the body, the upper body. I'm not a fan of that particular pose. So love getting these two characters, guys. Don't get me wrong. This was exciting. When I heard that this was announced, getting no holds barred, that was amazing. And to add them with the grapplers and gimmicks, Kurt Fuller, incredible. But of course, grapplers and gimmicks are going to stay with grapplers and gimmicks figures. Mattel Retros are going to stay with Mattel Retros. So it's not like I ever intertwined the toy lines, right? But it's nice to say that, you could if you wanted to. So that's something. Next up is Elizabeth. I don't know. I've never been one to simply refer to her as Miss Elizabeth. I kind of feel like when you call someone Miss Elizabeth, it's more of a Southern thing. If you're going to call someone Miss or Mr., it's got to be and then their last name, okay? I've always hated people, well, I would say hated people, but I've hated when someone says, Mr. or Miss and then their first name. It just drives me nuts. So that's a Southern thing to call someone, Mr. or Miss and then their first name. So I never address Elizabeth as Miss Elizabeth. That was always bothersome. It's always just Elizabeth. Just cut it off there. Miss Elizabeth was known as the First Lady of WWE. I've never actually read these battle cards before, and I don't ever remember them being that short, though. Every time I look at Elizabeth, though, I mean, her story is like one of the saddest stories out there because she was such a loved character, and how she died was, you would have expected more from her. You wouldn't look at Elizabeth and think, man, this girl does drugs. But you're put in that environment where everyone's on drugs, either shooting up steroids or, maybe they're shooting up cocaine or something. You're like, you know what? You're in that environment. Yeah, you're exposed to that. Chances are you're probably going to be, partaking in that partying atmosphere as well. So, man, they made this skirt like so freaking small. Okay, I had it hiked up. I'm like, this freaking skirt was like way up here. All right, there it goes. But that's the Elizabeth figure, and I think this one actually looks really freaking nice. That's a really beautiful look. I like this Elizabeth figure a lot. I was actually thinking that they might be coming out with like a yellow Elizabeth with like the red rose. I think that Elizabeth would look really, really nice. And I don't know, I think I saw that variant. I mean, I have a LJN custom of that Elizabeth, but maybe like Grapplers and Gimmicks or someone is coming out with like a Hasbro style figure in that color scheme. But this has got to be one of my favorite, female wrestler type figures as well. And I love her chop, man. I think she's got one of the most fun. So I think because, well, no, that's painted on, so that's not even being blocked. But Elizabeth finally, after all these years, gets her own, Hasbro or retro style figure. That's pretty awesome. And it's a good looking figure. So I know with like grapples and gimmicks, because like Sherri Martel, she didn't have like, the best stance, right? Especially with her shoes. So they gave her like a little stand, and with the little holes on the bottom, you can pin it into the stand. I'm surprised that Mattel Retros didn't give Elizabeth her own little stand, because I kind of feel like she's going to definitely need it. Let's see. No, how about that? Actually, she stands really well on her own. That's pretty awesome. So, looks like Elizabeth has lost her uppercut. It worked for a little bit, but now it's fading. But definitely one of my favorite female figures from the line. So actually, it might actually be one of my favorite best pieces. So definitely approve on the Elizabeth figure. And moving on to Sensational Queen. I like how they put both of them in there. Sensational Queen Sherri. Like the picture of Queen Sherri. So let's see how well Queen Sherri compares to the Grapples and Gimmicks variant. Sensational Sherri was crowned as the Macho Queen alongside the Macho King. Alright, so absolutely no change here. I think this is literally the exact same figure. And hair is almost identical. Face is pretty similar. Looks like the stance of the legs are pretty similar. I mean, same shoes. I mean, the feet are separated about the same. Yeah, so it looks like they made basically the exact same figure. Even the feel of the dress feels the same, like the same cloth. So when Queen Sherri was no longer the valet of Macho Man, Elizabeth the Macho Man, he gave her like, I don't know, they gave her some kind of, partying gift. So they were all like really good friends in real life. And you would think that, Elizabeth would have been jealous or would have actually hated Sherri in real life, but no. Like they had a really close-knit friendship, all three of them, so that was pretty awesome. I don't know. I think Grapplers and Gimmicks, with their two variants of Sherri Martel, I think they had their own little flavor of the figure. With what Mattel Retros, because it's the same figure as Elizabeth, I don't know. I have to give Grapplers and Gimmicks credit, the thumbs up on their end, having a more improved figure. But this, I would say, is at least a more playable figure if you're looking at it from that perspective. But again, I mean, it's the same figure as Elizabeth, so she should stand on her own, and she does. So, yep. Now, that is your main four figures from the line. But you guys, if you got the bundle, you would have also picked up the Brother Love ring set as well. Now, you do have two options when assembling the ring. In the middle, you could have either just put up the straight up WWF sticker, or when you flipped it around, you could have assembled the WWF / Royal Rumble sticker, and that's what I went with. And it just looks beautiful. And what I like about this, because if you bought your box set right, it did come with its own Brother Love action figure. And that kind of sucks that in order to get this figure, you got to buy the ring. So people out there, they're going to start buying the wrestling ring. and they're going to start selling the ring by itself, and they're going to take this figure out, and they're going to keep this figure, and they're going to sell the ring. Or they're going to keep the ring, and they're going to sell this figure. And they're probably going to sell the figure for as much as what the ring costs. And the ring, and they're basically going to, and people are going to pay good money for this. They're going to pay the full balance for this. So it's going to be like people got the ring for free, essentially. It's going to happen. I know it. Kind of a side note there. You know, remember Steven Watson, Steve B19 on eBay? Well, remember this Brother Love custom? One of the best darn customs I ever got, right? And this is what I'm talking about, guys. There's so many custom figures out there. Bastion Booger, and Big John Stud, and Brother Love. And I'm just kind of like looking at my wall, right? And there's like all of these, there's all these figures. Like China is another one. So there's all these figures, and that's just a few of them that I own, for example. But there's others out there where people are, you know, doing all this effort into creating their own Hasbro figures. And what happens later on? Businesses, big companies, big legitimate brick and mortar businesses like Mattel are creating their own versions of these characters. So what happens when these, you know, guys who working out of their homes, creating their own Hasbro style figures, are trying to sell them for $50, $100, etc. Maybe creating their own carded figures, and they're trying to sell them for like $100, $150. There's probably a ton of buyers out there who are interested in purchasing those items. But who's going to spend $150 on a custom carded figure when later on, when a real business like Mattel is going to come out and they're going to sell these figures for $15 mint on card, right? So I kind of feel bad for those customizers who are making those figures, because who's going to want them at that point? But this Brother Love, this is incredible, and obviously this is, you know, it's a specialty figures, right? So the card back is a lot different. Brother Love preached the word of love, yelling each and every WWE superstar, "I love you." So I love that this was built into his hand already. That's pretty awesome. And how does this book hold into his hand? Well, first things first. Alright, so I assume he's got a little snap. Yeah, he's got a little snap on there. So it does come with a couple of accessories, namely this big giant microphone, which is pretty freaking awesome. Love that. Awesome shade of pink. Really pinkish red. I mean, this is a gorgeous piece. I don't know what it is, but I think Brother Love is like one of my favorite characters. He's got to be, because I feel like all of the Brother Love figures that I have are always seem to be like one of my favorite figures. Like the Random Treasures LJN custom is one of my favorite figures from their line, from their exclusive figures. The custom Brother Love that I got, one of my favorite custom figures from Steven Watson. And among the Mattel Retros, I'm starting to think that this might be one of my all-time favorite Mattel Retro figures. And it's got a great build. I mean, Brother Love, I mean, it feels like every time, like Hulk Hogan, for example, ever went on the Brother Love show, he always got attacked, beat up by Earthquake or The Undertaker or someone. It's like, man, stop going on this man's show. You're being annihilated every time. But this is such an awesome figure. Love this. And it says the Book of Love. And I'm going to have to figure out how to display this. Maybe like so. I think that works for me. I'm going to have to do another room tour, guys. Probably in April or May. Because I think that's probably around the time I did my last room tour. But my last room tour was like an hour long. And with the new acquisitions, with the way I've been moving things around, And with the expansion, I feel like the next room tour is going to be like an hour 15, hour and a half. And I'm pretty sure nobody's going to want to spend an hour plus, looking at my junk. but yeah, let me kind of turn you guys around a little bit here. So this actually is the new Royal Rumble ring. And one of the things that you will notice, this is obviously where the championship belt would wrap around, kind of same way as like the think about the Hasbro ring, right? So like the Hasbro ring would have the old Winged Eagle ring, or Winged Eagle belt would kind of wrap around there, right? So you could wrap around the white championship belt if you want. Got a couple things over here for like the TV. You got some stairs. Now, there's a couple sticker options. You have one sticker option, which is just the WWF insignia, which basically would take up this entire area right here. The second sticker, obviously, is this option with a little smaller insignia, and then obviously the bottom part. But this is a gorgeous ring, and this right here, I just don't know how I'm going to kind of display this, because the only other option, I know my room is kind of a mess right now, but I'm thinking right now is right here would be one of those options, but I would have to move my Cella / Epic Toys figures out of the way. Or maybe move like some of the grapples and gimmicks, because some of this stuff is in the way. But man, it's it's getting crowded. Or I would have to move like some of this stuff. But yeah, that's about it for now, guys. Over 30 minutes. I never plan on these videos going that long anymore. Not really, but it is what it is. Tomorrow's Tuesday. It is Hasbro Tuesday, so that means prototypes and mailaways. That'll be another. Well, I mean, there's not too many prototypes and mailaways, so that'll probably be like a 30 to 40 minute video, maybe. So, it should still be a fun video. I don't have all the cards that I want. Like, I don't have the carded Moonbelly Kamala that I wanted. Custom mint on card, obviously, but it'll be. I mean, I had sent that out months ago. I was disappointed that I wasn't able to get that back in time, but when you tell somebody, take your time, no rush, you mean it. So you gotta stand by your word, right? So that's all, guys. I hopefully you enjoyed the video, and talk to you guys in the comments. See you in the next video, and until then, take care, everybody.